Hello everyone, Olivia Reiner here for Packers News, joined by Ryan Wood, and we are here to break down the Packers' 27-16 victory over the Denver Broncos. They're 3-0. Ryan, I think we started the last live stream off with this back when the Packers beat the Vikings last week. We weren't expecting it then. I don't think we were expecting it now for the Packers to be going 3-0, but we did think that they had a pretty good shot to beat the Broncos tonight. Did they live up to your expectations?
Improvement on offense. The defense wins the day. I actually had them winning 24-13. So I had them winning by 11. They won by 11. It just strikes me, and this is why I tweeted at the very end of the game, rightly so, for all the talk about this murderer's row of pass rushes that this Packers offense is going against early in its season. You're talking Khalil Mack, Leonard Floyd, you're talking Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, you're talking today Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. Didn't talk much about the Packers pass rush. It's taking a backseat to nobody right now. I mean, what the Smiths are doing, not just what they did today with 5 sacks combined, but what the Smiths are doing. You saw Rashawn Gary have his best game in 3 today. Obviously, Darnell Savage on the back end with the interception. The coverage remains outstanding between Jair Alexander, who just ripped the ball away from Noah Fant, Kevin King, who made a couple mistakes on the field today, but still, I mean, his press man is very good. This defense is just it's good, but this Packers pass rush, it's quickly becoming dominant. I mean, what they did today, 6 sacks, 5 from the Smiths, it won the game.
Za'Darius had 3, Preston had 2. Right now they're combined for 7.5 sacks. In the last 3 games, Nick Perry and Clay Matthews had 5 sacks last season.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy is that neither Za'Darius Smith or Preston Smith have ever been high-volume sackers. Neither guy in their career, 4 years apiece, have ever had double-digit sacks. It's never happened before for either guy. Right now, both guys are on pace to easily surpass that with ease. Both guys are more on like a 15-sack pace. Will that continue? I mean, look, it's going to be a different test in 4-5 days, whatever it is, on Thursday night when Carson Wentz comes to town. I know the Eagles are banged up, and ordinarily we wouldn't be talking about the next opponent, but it is on Thursday, so that's going to be different. Carson Wentz is not just a good quarterback, but he's also, I mean, he can throw the ball down the field, something Joe Flacco couldn't. But he's also elusive. He's really athletic. That's going to be, to me, the real litmus test. But through 3 games, they haven't played a great quarterback yet, but through 3, great defenses are supposed to make bad quarterbacks look bad. They've made each one look bad.
Speaking of quarterbacks looking bad, Joe Flacco did not look great. He had some flashes of not so bad, but Darnell Savage made him look pretty bad when Savage picked him right off. What did you make of his first career interception?
Well, he was adamant that he caught it, and he did. I said at the time, I mean, and Darnell Savage was more diplomatic than I was on Twitter after the game, but the fact that they the officials blew the play dead, to me, was just, it was asinine, because every turnover play is automatically reviewed with this current replay challenge setup. So why on earth would you ever blow a potential turnover play dead instead of letting the play you can always go back. You're automatically reviewing it anyway. You can always go back, look at it in slow motion on video, and if it's not a catch, you take it right back and you make it incomplete, and there's no harm done. You've got to let those plays come out, because at worst, the officials took off yardage gained on the return that would have basically put the Packers into scoring position. At best, they took 7 points off the board. I mean, it baffles me. I think this isn't the first time around the league that they've done that, and it could have been a big play in this game.
Mm-hmm. As we mentioned earlier, the Packers offense is steadily starting to look better and better week after week, but that being said, they don't look fantastic still. No. The offense is still not where it needs to be. Chase points out that Jimmy Graham continues to be a liability for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers, after the game, said again that he'd like to get Jimmy Graham more involved in the offense. Is he key to the offense's success? Does he have to be successful? I mean, for all the money that they're paying him, for the role that they've given him, what do they need to see from Jimmy Graham?
I thought what was most telling was after Preston Smith's strip sack that gave the Packers the ball in Denver's 5, that, if anything, that should be Jimmy Graham territory. At the 5-yard line, 1st and goal, because we know that, I mean, he's not the same athlete, not the same speed runner between the 20s, but he's still tall. Tall does not age. So if ever he's going to have a role, that should be it, and he wasn't really part of their plans in that situation. So that, to me, was pretty telling. Now, the Packers still got a touchdown. Aaron Jones wiggled through there for a touchdown run, but that's Jimmy Graham territory, and he was not part of the plans there. So I think what we saw today, and I wrote this, the Packers still need that secondary weapon in the passing game with Davante Adams. I think by far the best chance of that happening is Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He has the height, but more importantly the speed, as Aaron Rodgers said, the legit 4.3 speed to take the top off of defenses. Today he had the 40-yard touchdown catch, his 6th time in 18 games, career games, that he's had a catch of at least 40 yards. Pretty good ratio when you're walking away from a third of your games early in his career with a 40-yard catch. And that doesn't even include the 38-yarder he had as a rookie against Buffalo last September. So Marquez Valdes-Scantling needs to be more consistent. He dropped a few passes today. He's got to iron those things out. But you talk about raw talent, I thought that was a promising development for this offense.
Valdes-Scantling with 10 targets, 6 receptions, 99 yards. Davante Adams, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 56 yards. How does that number make you feel, 56?
Well, first of all, Davante Adams, new father, Davante Adams, he announced after the game today he missed practice Friday for be with his wife, Devon, for the birth of their daughter, Deja Leigh Adams. So congratulations to them. That's really a terrific thing. What was your question?
Well, 56 yards.
Got to put first things first. I'm a dad of 3,
yes.
you know?
Well, that's the most important thing.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Life is important. But 56 yards for Davante Adams. Aaron Rodgers wanted him to get the ball more. He didn't get the ball as much as he would have liked,
right.
But he wasn't targeted more than 4 times.
Yeah, they got to figure out a way to get him the ball more. Now, when I asked Davante Adams this after the game, what could Marquez Valdes-Scantling's ability to take the top off the defense do for you? And he knows that if he's able to do that consistently, if they can get a secondary weapon in the passing game, it's huge, because it over time, it's not going to happen in 1 or 2 weeks, but over time, defenses are going to stop rolling double and triple teams to Davante Adams' side. I mean, that's every defense. We've talked about this. Every defense they face comes into this game against the Packers saying, you got to take away 17. Every single defense that they face. And that's not going to change until somebody in this passing offense steps up and forces it to change. The guy who has the best ability to do that, the best potential to do that, and it is more potential than production right now, but that's Marquez Valdes-Scantling with that 4.3 speed. So that's what's going to take is for a second receiver to step up.
So enough about the receivers. Let's get some fullback talk in here. Gaston asks, how about the fullback, Olivia Danny Vitale?
Right there.
27-yard reception to that 1-yard line.
And I said it at the time, if there was any poetic justice in this earth, Matt LaFleur would have given him the ball after that, because I thought that almost looked like a touchdown, to be honest.
Aaron Jones did say, so what ended up happening on that play, Vitale gets it to the 1-yard line, Aaron Jones runs it in for a touchdown, and after the game, Aaron Jones said that ball belonged to Danny Vitale, because he was the one, in essence,
star tailbacks always taking all the glory. That was an impressive play from a fullback, to catch the ball, make the adjustment on the ball that they did that far downfield. And that's what we saw in training camp too, is Danny Vitale has athleticism. He's not just the nickname the muscle man. He's not just a bruiser. He can actually, he can move. He's an athletic guy, and he showed that.
He was one of our biggest surprises coming out of training camp, not just because of his talent, but also just because of the way that Matt LaFleur was so adamant in using him so much.
Yeah.
With the first team offense.
And you saw why today. You saw why today.
Oh, for sure.
He's a pass catching fullback.
That was by far his longest reception. He hasn't had many receptions with the Packers so far, but
almost had his first career touchdown. I thought he had it anyway if you slow down the replay, but they didn't challenge. I mean, rightly so. You're not going to challenge first and goal from the 3-inch line, but
yes, no, definitely not. So let's see what else. J.K. Scott, we've been talking about him since week 1, his first really impressive game against the Bears.
He killed the football today, didn't he?
But he had a 66-yard punt today. It was the longest punt of his season. He continues to be helpful to this Packers defense.
It was a bad play by the Denver returner because he caught the ball at like the 5, and then there was the blocking in the back, so they got the ball at like the 2.5-yard line.
Brought him back.
On the other hand, and I was talking with our colleagues about this after the play, I kind of get it. Not to say it was a good play. It wasn't a good play. But I kind of get why he made the play. Because when you have a ball that's kicked like that, almost a 70-yard punt, and it's a low-line drive like that, you're expecting that the ball was out, that the punt outkicked the coverage, and it didn't. And I forget who was the gunner on the coverage there, but give credit to the Packers coverage team to get down the field the way it did and force that block in the back, because that was a heck of a boot.
Some of you guys, like Keith, saying the offense looks sluggish today, that they need some consistency. So, of note, and this is something that the Packers have seemingly struggled with the first 3 games, their third down conversion efficiency has not been very good. They went 2 for 9 today, which I crunched the numbers on because math.
You go, Olivia.
22% on third down. That's not good, and that's not something that they're going to want to continue going forward.
So Davante Adams, I think, put it very well after the game. He said that they've got to continue stepping on their opponent's throats. He said he looks up at the scoreboard each week and at the Patriots, and it's 30-0, 33-0 each week, and that's what really the rest of the NFL, but that's what this Packers team is striving to get to, that Patriot level of dominance and completeness and complete game. They're not there yet. I was thinking even on the walks to the locker room, did you see improvement today? And I think the answer is yes. You didn't see much improvement from last week. It looked awfully similar. I think, though, where you saw improvement, one, last week they got a short field from a turnover from their defense, and that drive ended with Geronimo Allison's fumble. This week they get a short field, they punch it in for a touchdown both times. 2 touchdowns on short fields, and on top of that, the red zone offense was effective. Now, that's it. I mean, after that, this is an offense that still has a lot of work to do. There's no question about it. In a lot of ways, they should be, and they are. They're thanking the defense for this 3-0 start. But when you can say that you haven't played your best football and you're 3-0, there are worse places to be.
So another not so great stat: Aaron Rodgers, 29 pass attempts, 17 of them were incomplete. So, or excuse me, I should say 29 pass attempts, 17 completions that's 60% roughly, a little less. But that being said, he also only got hit once.
It was a clean game.
So, is it one or the other, or do you have to choose? You get hit or you're throwing the ball away?
Yeah, so first of all, it was a clean game, so kudos to Elton Jenkins making his first career start. I think he had 1 penalty, but wasn't much of a drop-off on the offensive line from him to Lane Taylor. And if that continues, Elton Jenkins is going to keep being the starting left guard. Obviously, Lane Taylor on IR now, so that is a big reason. But the efficiency wasn't there. I tweeted this out during the game. The first 3 drives last week, the first 3 drives this week, Aaron Rodgers, I think, he had a perfect passer rating 3 drives in against the Vikings. This week he was at 126 after 3 drives. And from there, it was a steady decline. Wasn't able to sustain that hot start, which obviously coincides with the offense getting off the script. So that making those adjustments, sustaining hot starts is going to be big for this offense, because they've been good while they've been on that pre-game script that they put together. They've got to continue it when they get off the script.
Katie poses an interesting question. Is it good or bad that we or other people are not talking about free agent signee Billy Turner on the offensive line? You don't really hear about a lot of offensive linemen, and I think if you do hear about offensive linemen, usually it's bad, because that's when it's noticeable. So yes, why is it a good thing? Because
he hasn't been noticeable, and you don't want to be noticed if you're right guard wearing number 77, because the only time you hear your number is when the referee tells a stadium full of people what your number is, and that's not good. So the fact that he's not been a problem is a very good thing for this offense.
All right, short and sweet there. Chris asks any injuries of note, and no one really left the game for a very long period of time.
Zadarius Smith left but came back, had the sack at the end. Rashawn Gary had the cramps but came back, had his first career sack today. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I hope I'm not missing one.
I don't think so. And I also, from what I recall, I didn't see anyone in the locker room with a surprise boot on their foot. So perhaps, something could happen. Something might have happened we don't know about. We'll find out about it. But something I said to Pete before the game is that something that's key for this upcoming week, the short week, is that the Packers are able to get out of a game on this field in the rain healthy. And seemingly they managed to do that.
Well, and you know what was interesting today, and I got to rely on you a little bit as the stat queen here, but I'm pretty, Matt LaFleur said that he's going to even out the carries between Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. He did that today. I think they each had 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, I will tell you right now, Ryan.
Let's see if I'm right.
12 carries for Jamal Williams,
Dang it.
10 for Aaron Jones.
So, actually, Jamal Williams had more carries than Aaron Jones today. Wouldn't have thought that, but I don't think it's a coincidence with the fact that the Packers, effectively, in theory, they're going to be playing a better team in the Philadelphia Eagles in 5 days. So you want to keep Aaron Jones fresh with these 2 games in 5 days because he is that important to the offense. How do you do that? You give Jamal Williams more carries. So I thought that was interesting that he did even out the carries today.
Jamal Williams did not show up on the scoreboard like Aaron Jones did, but he did have a really good game. He had 59 rushing yards. So what does it mean?
He had a good catch, too, I think. How many receiving yards did he have?
Yeah, I only wrote down so much.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just put her on the spot.
I'm not looking at the entire stat sheet. I wrote down the things that I wanted to highlight.
I remember and this is going to sound probably not great, but I remember there was that screen pass maybe the third quarter, and it didn't get the first down, but the way he split defenders, he showed some bursts. It was almost like, was that Aaron Jones? And I was like, no, that's Jamal Williams. He looked really good in the pass game.
I was going to bring it up for you, but you stopped talking, and the ESPN app is not opening. So
it's not
I'm
important.
not going to tell
when I say
you
it's not important,
how
it's
many.
Okay.
You can go look up what
it's
his
okay.
receiving yards
no,
were.
it wasn't even the yard. It was just the burst that he showed. I thought that was impressive. He was good enough today. Now, speaking of, should probably give some credit to Philip Lindsay.
Oh, my goodness.
The Broncos running back. I had no idea. He was the best player they had on the field. He was really almost single-handedly responsible, that and the Broncos offensive line, for keeping the Broncos in the game because Joe Flacco could not throw deep. Now, I think this Packers defense has shown I wouldn't say a flaw, but an issue that needs to get addressed long term, and that's the run defense. Something like 350 yards allowed on 65 carries the last 2 weeks. Now, Dalvin Cook does that to you. You don't want it to happen, but Dalvin Cook does it to you. That's one thing. Dalvin Cook's a top 5 back in this league when he's healthy. He's an elite guy. Philip Lindsay is not Dalvin Cook, and Philip Lindsay, I think, had 80 yards on 21 carries today. He had 79 yards on 24 carries combined in his first 2 games. So he had basically on the same number of carries, a little more yards in today's game than he had in the first 2 weeks combined. The Packers, it's not a coincidence that their pass defense has improved this much from a rush standpoint and a coverage standpoint. I remember the day that Mike Pettin was hired as defensive coordinator, one of the first things he said to us was that he prioritizes stopping the pass over stopping the run. He reiterated that last week when he said you can fly to Miami a lot quicker than you can walk to Miami. This is the way that Mike Pettin thinks, is you got to stop the pass in the passing league, and you do. But they've got to make sure that they stop the run, too. All the athleticism that they put on the field as far as pass rush, you got to have guys that stop the run. And what was most damning to me was the fact that the Broncos were winning their fair share of runs against the Packers' base defense on first down. That's something that's got to be corrected.
Something that was concerning to me related to the Packers' run defense was when the Broncos were down 3 yards outside of the end zone, and Philip Lindsay had a rushing touchdown, and I think 3 guys on the Packers defensive line had some sort of hand-arm situation around him, a handful of missed tackles.
That was 4th down, too.
Yeah. So
it was 4th and goal.
It was something that looked like they could have, any one of those guys could have stopped Lindsay somehow, but it didn't happen.
It wasn't even second effort. It was third effort, which, first of all, Philip Lindsay made a terrific play on that. Usually you're stopped the first 2 times. You don't get a chance to have a third effort. But it is 4th and goal. They have him stopped behind the line of scrimmage twice, and they can't finish the play. That's a good, as good as the Packers defense has been, they've been really good. They're the reason why this Packers team is 3-0. There's still stuff for them to work on. It's kind of scary in a way because they've been really good and they can actually get better.
Stacy says that the Packers defense looked pretty tired today. I don't know what you thought about how the defense looked out there, but I mean, a lot of these guys are playing, especially Zadarius and Preston Smith, they're playing the bulk of the snaps in the game. I'm sure we'll get to take a look at that tomorrow when those numbers, official numbers, come out. But should it concern the Packers at all that Preston and Zadarius are really taking a lot of the bulk of the snaps so far these first 3 games?
I got to see the snaps. I think Rashawn Gary played more today than he did the first 2 games. I think that'll continue. It needs to even out a little bit. I thought today, so Packers have allowed 35 points in 3 games. 16 points today, 16 points last week. But it was so different from last week because last week the Vikings got basically all their production, literally half of their production on 4 of their 60 plays. There were 4 big plays that were their signature, their imprint offensively on that game. Otherwise, they got almost nothing. Today, the Broncos they only had 2 big plays, I think. Neither of them as big as what the Vikings had last week, but it was more methodical. I mean, I think the Broncos had 2 scoring drives of 15 plays or more. They were much more incremental in moving the ball down the field. The Packers defense was on the field longer today as a result of that. So it was different. But that long drives, that goes back to needing to stop the run, especially on first down.
All right, you guys. Packers 27-16 victory here at home at Lambeau Field. Before we go.
No.
You thought I forgot. I didn't
was
forget.
hoping.
If you've been with us the last 2 weeks, I think, yeah, it's been
I got a text message on this today, actually.
Yeah,
from
thank
a
you for doing your due diligence.
I don't thank you.
Harassing Ryan. I don't encourage
I feel
any
harassed.
harassment.
I feel very harassed.
Unless it's on this topic and directed toward
right
Ryan. That's the only harassment that
You and
I
Jim keep
condone.
bullying me.
So, anyway, if you're new here, Ryan, I bet him that if Marquez Valdez-Scantling scored a
we
touchdown...
never bet. Wait a second.
I told... All right, so I demanded...
She told me I had to do it. I never agreed to this.
There was no agreement, but I demanded that if Marquez Valdez-Scantling scored a touchdown and did the Orange Justice Fortnite dance after his touchdown, that Ryan would have to do the dance.
What is Fortnite?
So Fortnite's a video game.
I know. How do you play?
It's like there's some shooting involved.
Okay.
You can play on teams. I know very little about it.
So I don't understand how a dance comes from a video game, but I also don't understand what Fortnite is.
There's celebration dances, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, Marquez he streams his Fortnite games on Twitch. I don't know very much about streaming. I watched like maybe a half hour of the stream, which is still a pretty long time. But during that stream, he said that if he scored a touchdown against the Vikings last week, that he was going to do that dance.
And he did score a touchdown
and
against the
he
Vikings,
did not.
so I'm off the hook, right?
No, well, guess what? He scored
I'm stalling.
He scored a touchdown today, and he did the dance. So, Ryan...
A lot better than I will.
We're going to do the dance. I told Ryan I'd do it with him.
So I actually watched YouTube video of this, and I swear to God, if I become a GIF from this, I'm never forgiving you, Olivia.
I don't think...
throwing that out there.
That's okay. All right. Well, you ready?
So
5 seconds.
We
ready?
do
Let's go.
this, like this. I don't know. That's what I
got. There we go. There we did it. We did it.
I appeased her.
There we did it. It was not good. I'm not proud, but
I'm not
we
limber.
did it. I'm proud of you. Thank you for appeasing
I wish
me.
I could say the same.
Thank you for appeasing
I'm
me.
not.
Just to clarify, that was not a celebration of the touchdown. That was just
Celebration of life.
of life, of dancing, of happiness. There. So anyway, you guys got to witness something very special tonight. Thank you for bringing your questions. Thank you for hanging out with us. I hope we make you smile.
You see what I'm trying to do here? I'm almost like off screen. I'm trying to
It's time to end
saunter
this.
off screen.
It's time
here.
to end this. Guys, make sure you're checking out Packers News for lots of other coverage of the game. Follow us on social media. We'll have lots of updates for you. And we're going to be here again in 4 days.
Yeah.
We might as well just stay here.
5 days?
Because we'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, we will. We are staying here. We're not going home. We're going to be sleeping in our
sleep.
office. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
be here the next. It's 5 days, I think.
Well, Thursday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
And we'll be here
Thursday.
every single day.
If you count the rest of the night, it's 4 and change. So
Yeah.
anyway. So we'll be back. So we
quick.
look forward to seeing you again very soon. Have a great night.
Enjoy it.
I don't think anyone really noticed. I don't know. I stopped getting comments, or maybe. Why did we just get a notification that we're live? No, we didn't. Why are we saying we're live now? That's not true.
Were we not live the entire time?
No, we were. Yikes, someone said.